understand we're going to talk about life and martial arts and stuff.
How you got into martial art.
It's the Bujinkan. It's of Japanese origin.
Sometimes you can't really get out of some fights.
You will do whatever you can. It doesn't matter if you're a trained martial artist or not.
So we have with us today Mr. Vikram, and could you please introduce yourself for us?
First of all, hi Sameeksha, and thanks to your team for having me along today. Well, so you invited me, came along, so I understand we're going to talk about life and martial arts and stuff. So I've been training the Bujinkan for about 20 years now. So I think since we're discussing martial arts, that's sufficient introduction. If you want to know me beyond that, wildlife enthusiast, someone who drudges in the IT industry, that's sufficient. Carry on.
Okay, so we could start off with how you got into martial art and what actually was your moment where you're like, okay, this is my thing.
Okay, why did I get into martial arts? Actually, that's the one thing I have very clear memories of. The time I really decided I need to start martial arts was around the time I finished my MBA. When I was getting into MBA, one of the professors had told me specifically, I think you get away with stalking everywhere.
Stalking?
He says, you
Okay.
just get away by talking to people and making your words solve things for you. And I realized he was right. So by the time we were there close to the end of the MBA, we were placed, we were going to move out of campus shortly, and that's when I was thinking, it's a good point, I can talk my way out of most things, but what if there is a situation where I can't talk my way out? You have to hit your way out or fight your way out. There should be some physical capability that helps you survive. That's when I decided, let me go out and learn the martial arts. Also, of course, from childhood I've been doing quite a few physical things, and sports and hiking and stuff, but never martial arts. But this is the literal turning point.
Okay. So when you mentioned about diplomacy, how has that changed once you started practicing martial art? The approach, or like, were you able to add so many new things to the way you would talk your way through?
It's a very interesting question because one of the first things you learn, okay, the martial art I have trained, and you're dabbled in it as well, is the Bujinkan. It's of Japanese origin. One of the first things we are taught as practitioners and students of the Bujinkan is what we call the ukenagashi. We have two concepts. There is ukemi and ukenagashi, right? So ukemi is generally more focused towards the natural elements, how you receive the ground when you fall, and how you manage if it's raining or too windy and things like that. When it comes to ukenagashi, it's how you receive a opponent, a human opponent. I don't know if it will work against tigers, cats, dogs, spiders, so human opponents. When we say receive, the person has already chosen to attack you, and you have to respond to the attack or react depending on the situation, the time available. So we have, if you look at our chart, the syllabus, there's something called A, B, C, D. It's a beautifully put together system. And my teacher, Shiva, he actually expressed how you can use the ABCD concepts, which I'll get to in a moment, in acting. He's also a stage performer with a lot of experience. So he expressed how to use this in acting. And then later I realized we use the same when we interact with our clients, with our colleagues, with seniors, juniors, peers, and many a time even with our relatives. So what are ABCD? A is absorb, B is block, C is counter, D is deflect, E is evade. So this is literally what diplomacy is. Absorb is if there's somebody being aggressive towards you, even in just words, like asking why you're doing this, is not working, trying to point out a finger of blame at you. You say, sorry, let's discuss this, I'll try to sort it out. That would be more like an absorb. If you instead go, stop, why are you like this? That's a block. You stop them in mid-sentence or stop them from being aggressive towards you. Counter is, that's your fault. Why, how dare you ask me this question? You pass the blame back onto them. That would be a counter. Deflect is, sorry, ask him. We'll talk tomorrow. You deflect in time or space towards a different person. That's the deflect. Then there is the evade. When the person comes to talk, you get in the lift and go away, or your phone suddenly dies. Sorry, I lost connection.
Okay.
That could be evade, or it could be a combination of any of the earlier four. That literally is how we do all our diplomacy. How do you negotiate Bangalore traffic? That's the ultimate example for everything. If it's a big vehicle, you have to absorb their movement when they're cutting across lanes. If it's a smaller vehicle, you can block them. If you know the other person is being a cautious driver, you can counter and go into their lane. Deflect would be when both of you slow down and try to take different paths. Evade is take a cab. I can't deal with driving today. So that would be a nutshell how diplomacy would work. So,
Yeah, super interesting. And also, I've always observed in terms of martial art, there were very specific definitions to all this, but it goes in a very, very flow state. It goes in so smooth that you can't really compartmentalize. Is it absorbing? Yeah, you are absorbing and deflecting, or there's so many combinations, but it goes so free flow, and you're in that state of flow that there's no way around. It's just like this person is just flowing through that, and there's the other person who's not maybe not experienced enough is just getting crushed. So how does that get to that flow point, and what is the main point in that flow? Like, how do you get there?
you get to the point where you can flow with experience and practice. Like
Okay.
anything else in life. If you're so good at your job, you will deal with other problems while you're working. Again, I come back to Bangalore traffic. We are so used to heavy traffic, you're not thinking of the traffic every moment of every time, every second when you're on the road. You're driving, there may be times when you have to look at your mirrors on both sides. Every time you have to honk continuously, you may have to deal with somebody honking at you continuously. But there are other stretches of road where you're just driving, you're thinking of how you'll do the rest of your uh, day in planning or executing what you've planned, things like that. So that is flow. When you have to compartmentalize and get into doing something specific, you have to do it. But if you're driven long enough in Bangalore, you know how to deal with it. That's flow, literally.
Yeah.
And I think this whole flow state, there's this book by, I think it's Stephen Kotler or Philip Kotler, one of them. One of them is the marketing guru, and the other is the, I think there's a book called The Rise of Superman, in which defines this flow state about how there are activities that can't be practiced for. I think the example he uses it is how a motorcycle stuntman jumps over multiple obstacles which you can't really rehearse for, as against a Olympic sportsman who can rehearse the same routine over and over. So both are in flow state. One can do it through practice, the other is flow state by putting yourself in a state by dint of having no idea of what to do. You just have to deal with it. So, like I said, Bangalore traffic. So,
Okay. So, I've heard this term a lot in dojo, and specifically me, I've heard this. The most of your answers, or like answers to your problems, lies in your breath, and like just breathe, things will fall in place. So, what does that actually mean? And when was your first time when you figured out that it's just like you just have to breathe and things will happen?
uh, there's a reasonably old movie. It's got Jet Li and Jackie Chan both in the movie. I think it's called Forbidden Kingdom. Same question. There's this student, this this modern American student who's teleported back in time to historical China. I don't know what time period, but yeah. And he has these two masters, Jet Li and Jackie Chan, who both trying to teach him different ways of martial arts. So. But he's still worried because he's got this whole chosen one thing going, and he has to defeat this big villain. He asks, I have all this training, but very little of it, not enough experience. So, what do you do if I freeze up? And one of the teachers, I don't know if it is the Jackie Chan character or the Jet Li character, they say, just don't forget to breathe. So I think that's a very nice, succinctly put explanation of what that is. More uh, practically speaking, it's just that when you focus on your breathing, you take your mind away from the immediate concern that was troubling you. If you can stop thinking of the problem you're dealing with, or if you want to let go of something that you are doing without knowing why you're doing, stop thinking of that and actively think of your breathing. It just cuts off that line of thought and frees up a little mind space. That's all it is. Even when you are training the martial arts, it is very, very easy to get focused on one opponent. The opponent is wielding a weapon, the weapon before the opponent. It's very easy to lose sight of all the other space around you, around the opponents, what you have around you. It's very easy to lose sight of all this. But if you focus on your breathing, the objective of having to win can be dropped for a little bit. Your objective is to survive, not to win in any way. But for a second, if you focus on your breathing, you take away your motives against your opponent, and therefore that causes a little confusion in the opponent. This is more an experiential thing. It is okay to explain it, but if you think you got it by hearing someone speak about it, it will be wrong. You'll have to be there and experience it.
That's true.
So
So, I feel like every martial artist goes through a phase where they're just very new and they're practicing, and they actively try to think of a specific move or a reaction beforehand before they actually perform it. And when they get into a match, they automatically are like, okay, I'm going to do this or that. That's how the opponent is able to figure it out way before they're actually doing it. So you get to a state where you don't have to think anymore because you've practiced enough. You leave it back in class and you directly get into whatever it is. But when it comes to this specific dojo, I was told to let go of everything and instantly like not think and just perform whatever it is. So at what, like, how do you feel like different martial arts are different, like, or a martial art as a sport is different from ninjutsu, or like how, if you want to put it in terms of survivability, what is your thought on that?
as a beginner, you will think, you need to think. You internalize through a structure which is how we learn in school. So bring the same structure into martial arts. So you will think, you will put your mind first, you will try to break it down, which is totally fine. Over time, when you repeat the same thing over and over and your body gets comfortable with it, your muscles know it, you understand the situation better, you will stop worrying about whether what you did was right and whether it was efficient, and it just comes down to whether it was effective. If you did something wrong, you have to deal with it. If you did something right, you still have to deal with it. And the martial art I have trained, the Bujinkan, sometimes called ninjutsu also, so it doesn't have a competitive nature. There are no tournaments or sports attached to it. So I personally don't have experience in martial arts sports, but from the little I've seen of other martial sports like boxing or Olympic wrestling or MMA, which is really popular these days. Those guys are really experienced. Many of them have trained multiple martial arts and they're really good. I don't think they're thinking of every single move. They're looking at a situation, dealing with it. So many things work. They're fantastic martial artists because they've put in the time. And they're not just martial artists, they're people who have conditioned their body to be in peak condition in specific ways. So they have a lot of things going for them. And they know the set of rules, they know the environment, they know the duration for which they have to fight. They factor in everything by dint of experience and practice. So I don't think they are thinking either. They're really good martial artists. Just that we don't think of it as we train because we train a slightly more historical context. Like there's also European martial arts are trained like that, Indian historical martial arts. There are Persian or Iranian martial arts which have historical component. I think in Thailand they have Muay Thai and Muay Boran, if I'm not wrong. Muay Thai is the modern sport version. Muay Boran, if I'm not wrong, is the historically practiced version. So they all have these versions. You just adapt it to a given context. They also learn with their mind and then let go of it. A little bit of unlearning perhaps, or it's just that experience helps you with it.
Okay. So I've always been thinking of this fact. Like recently, I've been on the lines of what is home to somebody, and when it came to the fact that I realized not everyone has the privilege to have a home which feels like home, and there is a certain amount of people who find an escape or a space where they choose to make it home, or wherever they move, or a particular, let's say like a friend's balcony or a dojo or a gym where they completely can feel like home. So first question is, what is home to you, and where do you feel at home, where you naturally relax, or what is your concept of home in mind specifically, if that can be? Yeah.
Well, home can be defined in multiple ways. There are the cliched ones, which is home is where the heart is. All of those are terms you can define differently. So essentially, home is a place where you are physically safe, first off. The second thing I would say is home is a place where you can stress without physical problems. When I say, okay, I'll rephrase that. Home is a place where you can be stressed without having any physical threat. You can go home where most of us go home to in the evenings or after work. You can let go of everything. You can still be worried about what you're going to do the next day, about your work, or literally anything under the sun. But you're still physically safe. Your mind may be actively thinking of a lot of things, but you're physically safe. That's home. That's what you described. You go to a friend's balcony or the dojo. It's a place where you can make mistakes, you can stress about things. It's a physically safe lab to experiment on yourself, perhaps. That's what the dojo would be in many uh, people's definition. So that's how I would look at it. It could be in the office also. If it's a place you've gone to so many times, you know the people around you, you know you're going to work together, that's also home. Home is literally the house which is registered in your name, so that's home. The dojo is definitely home. So, if your car is clean and you record your podcast sitting there, that's home for all of you. So that's fine also. So,
Yeah, definitely. And when it comes to as a responsibility or your dharma, whatever it's called, as a martial artist, how would you deal with a situation where you will have to protect your family or probably a child next to you, when in terms of there is a physical harm? So that is where you kind of have to become that animal. And so how would you deal with such a situation? And how sometimes you can't really get out of some fights. So what is your advice on a person who is a martial artist versus who might have not ever practiced any kind of martial art? What could they do?
well, again,
Yeah,
there's no fixed answer.
yeah, yeah.
If it is a situation truly can't get out of, and there is serious physical threat to your family, your near dear ones, friends, even your pet sometimes, anyone who's near and dear to you, and like you said, if you have to be the animal, you have to be the animal. There is no escaping. We're all capable of it. We'll do it. The trigger is different for different people, but if there is truly a threat to life or serious physical injury of that nature, everybody will go animal. You will do whatever you can. It doesn't matter if you're a trained martial artist or not. At the same time, both trained martial artists and people who are not training the martial arts, if you're raised in a modern day democratic society like we are, you are fairly aware of the laws you have to comply with, the societal norms you have to invariably practice. So those are also things that are conditioned into our lives. Like, you cannot go and fight somebody without having a legal repercussion coming back at you. There are several different kinds of laws that may come and cause you harm. You can get away with it, but it will cost you time and a lot of other resources, maybe financial, mind space. You'll be stressing about it a lot. There's an opportunity cost to all that. These are things we all know. The one advantage I would think a martial artist would likely have is in hopefully avoiding the situation. Like, if you had a feeling that there is a potential for serious problems in a given space, you would say, let's get out. There is no ego to it. Whoever you are with. It's very easy if it's a child or an older person. But if it's somebody who are not in your immediate family circle, you might think twice. I would like to think that with sufficient martial arts practice, you will not think twice about telling whoever's with you, let's get out of here. This is too dangerous. You just leave. And hopefully, you will get out of that place before the actual situation which will cause the threat happens. The only way you can survive it is by not being there when the fight happens. If the fight happens, you deal with it however you can. Hopefully, you're trained enough that your body, your non-active brain knows what to do, and you'll do it. That's a long answer, but
Yeah, sure.
I don't know if I can give a firm one for that. Sorry.
Sure. My main question was backed with I wanted to give the viewers who are probably a non-martial artist the mindset to be able to do something in a situation where they're caught up and they have to deal with, rather than just the just the fact that the fear can make them pass out or just freeze, fight or flight. I just want them to have that one small, maybe tiny little hope that they can do something in such a situation, because just that change in that small little mindset can probably save them. That is what it was more related to.
That's an
Yeah.
interesting point. If you are a martial artist, also, this is important because there may be times when you can't apply what you've learned. What if there are multiple opponents wielding weapons? If there is a knife in the picture,
Yeah.
or if there are metal rods, or if there are stones coming at you, what is the frame of mind you might have to survive? Is, I would say again, awareness perhaps. Like, what will work in a fight is up in the air, it's anyone's guess. Awareness is something that, again, how do we define awareness? It's not being full in the mind, it's being mindful of your surroundings and what else is going on. That animal brain of ours, which realizes that there is a predator around, some sense like that, that's an instinctive feeling that you get. Hopefully, that will get triggered and you will clear out of there. That's what I mean. But beyond that, what can somebody do, especially if you're not a martial artist? I would be very hesitant to give them tips because without actually being in a dojo with a teacher or fellow martial artists and going through that experience in a safe space, which will help you have innate trust in your own instinct and being aware, it is very dangerous to have theoretical knowledge of this and apply it. Just trust your gut is the answer there. So that's how it would be. So.
I had one particular question on base to Rimura, and of course, I learned this whole concept through dojo and try to inculcate it in terms of business, where we follow this: do not try to defend yourself, but try to protect yourself. And I, of course, learned it from you. Could you give an insight to the viewers on what it actually means?
Sure, I'll give you my take on this. We all heard the term self defense, and generally, a lot of people come to martial arts dojos thinking they need to be able to defend themselves. And where do you defend yourself? Typically, out on the street. That has a little bit of background to this, right? Background to this whole thinking. You have a thinking that there will be somebody who attacks you with, or trying to cause you harm in a certain way. Fair enough, fair point. That's very true in many countries, including ours. So there should be a way to minimize harm or have no harm at all towards you in a physical sense at least. There will be trauma associated with it and things that will have to be dealt with also, but I'm not looking at that when I'm giving this answer. And then there was one year when the Grandmaster was Soke in the Bhujan Khan. He had this theme called self-protection. I think this was about 10 years ago was this theme. And he used this term called Goshin Jutsu for that, which literally goes into how you protect yourself. So that's when I kind of had the feeling that there is a difference between self-defense and self-protection. The way I would define it is self-protection is more active and something you do at all times. Now let's say you're driving a bike back to Bangalore traffic. You wear a helmet by default. If you're driving a car, you wear a seat belt by default. If you see it's cloudy and it might rain, you will carry a rain jacket or a wind cheater at least. And if you feel cold, you will carry a sweater. So all of these are things you do to protect yourself, but you're not protecting yourself from another human being. You're protecting yourself from the elements in the case of wind or rain or the heat. You carry a cap, right, if it's too hot. If it's in traffic, you wear a helmet or you wear a seat belt simply because there is a very small probability of something going wrong somewhere. You're not expecting anything to go wrong, but you're still protecting yourself. That is where the whole awareness thing comes. Like if you feel there is going to be a problem, scoot. Don't stay there. That is how you protect yourself and the ones you care for. So that is protection. Self-defense is very similar, but the connotation in which it's generally taken is you defend yourself against something, but you protect yourself from something. So it's the against and from that makes the difference. In one situation, it is you just do it because you want to be safe. In the other, you're doing something because there is an active threat against you, or at least a passive threat like a stalker, or you feel somebody is looking at you and things like that. So that is the difference. And then if you have to defend yourself, it means that you already put yourself in harm's way. That might work, that might not work, but if you are going to protect yourself and get away from the situation, the probability of minimizing injury or having no injury at all or any physical harm is higher in my personal opinion. So that's how I make the distinction between self-defense and self-protection.
So it basically means that self-defense is you trying to actively fight.
I would say self-defense is more in connotation reactive, whereas self-protection is proactive. That's the difference I would see.
Okay.
I don't think anybody who learns martial arts for self-defense wants to actively fight. No. So, well, again, this is a generalization. There will always be people who want to test themselves. That's a different thing altogether.
As a martial artist in India, because India is known to be more a spiritual nation, or I mean, there's so many subjective ways to take that. What is a concept of spirituality to you? But what has martial art changed the view of that spirituality, or either way around, vice versa?
Okay, we hear the word spirituality and of the spirit a lot. But what is the definition of spirituality? Right? I don't have a perfect definition. We all have very common understandings of it, and generally it aligns, so we can have an easy conversation around spirituality and how our spirit matters, have a strong spirit and all this. We align on that. But for the sake of this question and the answer I'm going to give, I would think of spirituality as anything that's beyond just the physical aspect, physical desires, physical comfort. Not just your active brain, but also things beyond all this, like how do you do good for society, or how do you care for someone, things like that. Or even contentment can sometimes go beyond just your personal feeling to you enriching your spirit, right? And we also say, like you said, we are a spiritual nation, but are we really spiritual? Perhaps we are. Do we have a tradition of spirituality built in? Likely yes, because we have been asked to close our minds, cut out the noise in your brain, just sit and contemplate or contemplate on a given aspect. All of these flow into spirituality in a general connotation. And that is true because it's beyond just your physical aspects, needs and desires, even if you consider Maslow's theories or hierarchy or however. Even the need for a purpose can stem from the spirit or the spiritual way of thinking, if you will. How does martial art help you in that? We just spoke of how you can use breathing to take your mind away from something. That is roughly a good place to start with spirituality. And also meditative aspects come into spirituality, and meditation can be mind over matter or matter over mind, and matter you can replace with the word body. So you can sit in a place like we have seen in all our historical characters and people from our stories in our culture, rishis performing meditation, sometimes it's called penance, where they sit and contemplate. That would be mind over matter, where you can literally slow your heartbeat, not feel the cold. Your body literally becomes subordinate to your mind because you've decided to make it so. I don't know how they managed it, but great people existed all the time. So the other one is matter over mind. Like you would have seen this in our dojo. When we practice, you don't need an opponent. You can just practice with the flow, take a weapon, practice the movements, focus on your breathing. All your thoughts go quiet. That is matter over mind. Either way, you close down the unnecessary thoughts and focus on something. That would be a fair approximation of how martial arts helps spirituality. And of course, you read my blogs. It's all about how I have re-understood everything in our culture, from our epics to the various practices, through the lens or prism of martial arts, if you will. So there are a lot of stories which perhaps stem from, I'm not sure, but can lead to martial arts as we practice it. Some of them are spiritual, but not necessarily all. Some of them management practices, concepts in physical combat, all of it. So spirituality is one such. That's how it works.
Okay. So, what is one interesting aspect? Probably is the last question. Would you give to a non-martial artist or a reason for them to who are like kind of worrying, is it for me, is it not, or like give it a try? How will you tell them that this is something that anybody can do? There is no really constraint.
It's the same as going out for a walk, literally. So, does anybody decide I won't go for a walk because I'm too old or I didn't do it as a child? One of the biggest misconceptions I would think is a lot of our fellow countrymen and women, we think martial arts is for kids and you feel you should have started it young. And a lot of parents ask, I want to put my child to this. And it's like, your child can wait, maybe you should train, right? There is no age bar because the whole point of a martial art is to be adaptive. It's for you to figure out how you will move in a given situation. All the concepts from history, the tradition, it'll narrow down to how it can work for you and you make it your own. So the biggest misconception would be that you need a background in physical activities. No, you don't. You need to start it as a child. No, you don't. You can start it whenever you want. You've seen our fellow students, the people who started 45, people who started 50 plus years of age. So that's one. And what else? You name any restraint you want to put in is to not train, it'll hold good. You can train.
Some people don't want to really get hurt, or in the sense of they're like, okay, I won't be able to do a day-to-day task because I'm going to break my bones. Maybe it's, yeah.
That's a good point. We're also physically averse to injury, which is true. And as you've seen, many dojos can work their way around that. They'll help you work through injury, they'll work you through physical challenges, disabilities, and still help you adapt. And the best thing about martial arts is you're training with people you trust, and they trust you in turn. So you can tell them, I don't want to do so and so thing today. I don't want to go fast, I don't want to get injured. And hey, not everybody comes into a martial arts wanting to become a martial artist or a martial sports practitioner. Not everybody who goes to train boxing goes there to be a champion. Nobody wants to win an Olympic medal. You may be training there just to get your body moving. That works. You want to get better hand-eye coordination? Great. Meditate? Great. While moving your body, you can do that. Or you want to choreograph action sequence for a movie you're working on with your friends? You can do that. Right? So, or you've been playing video games, you want to try the real action sequence in life. You want to play? Go, do it. So all of these are options. The only genuine problem is to be able to make time. And that is a very valid point. That said, it is not necessary for everyone to go train martial arts. Are there benefits to it? Absolutely yes. But will you suffer greatly if you don't? Likely not. There are a lot of people who don't do martial arts who lead perfectly happy, functional, and great lives. So at the end of the day, if it makes you happy, go do it. So there are so many martial arts in India, from north to south, Kashmir to Tamil Nadu and Kerala to, I don't know, you go to Nagaland to Gujarat, everywhere there's a martial art. Go find what you want. Just find a group. That's the best way. So, I think I'll just stop there with that answer. So.
Yeah, thank you so much for such an insightful answer. And it's really fun where you gave in an input of anybody and everybody can try it and have fun with it, and there's no force or pressure on it. Thank you for being here today, and I would definitely want to catch up again for probably a more focused approach in terms of probably mindfulness or ancient martial art. He's super insightful about so many different topics, super well read in so many concepts. So, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me, and to your team, thank you for your time and the
Yes.
space
Yeah.
for being able to talk to you all about this. Thank you.
Thank you.